Tom always has to check if his second camera's working.
It's working.
All good? Nice.
Yep.
All right, Tom, another Be the CEO. Here we go, pal.
Here we go. Here we go. A little different flavor this week.
Yeah. Vanilla, chocolate, strawberry. We got pistachio today with the green hat. What's up, Danny?
Yeah. Bring your green hat, right?
I didn't get the memo.
No. Did you know what movie though? It's cool. It's cool. Bring your green hat.
Oh, I don't know. What movie?
Movie.
Old school.
Old school.
Remember?
You're my
Frank
boy,
Tank,
bro.
when right before he goes streaking, he's like, "It's cool. Bring your green hat."
I'm going streaking. I'm going through the quad. Past the fountain.
Great
Who's coming?
movie. That was a great movie.
So yeah, we've been doing this podcast for a while, the Be the CEO podcast, and Tom and I have talked a lot, and it's great. You've heard our stories. You've heard a lot of the stories of the people we've come across, whether they be our mentors, our clients, people who are in our mastermind groups. And it's been fun, but we wanted to start bringing more people on who have actually gone through the journey themselves, people that we know, like, trust, and really admire what they have done in their lives and in their businesses. And there's no better person than the LinkedIn legend, Danny DelVecchio. It's weird even saying that, right? Like, you've become a legend. I know we all look at it differently, but it's like, man, you've really become a legend. When I come across people and I'm like, yeah, my buddy Danny DelVecchio, they're like, you know Danny DelVecchio? I'm like, yeah, I do. Like, holy shit, he's unbelievable what he does. And it's been awesome to watch your meteoric rise, not only in your business and on LinkedIn and the clients that you've impacted, many that we know, but your life. Like, your life is so different now. And I'll give the floor to you to give a little intro on who you are, what you do, and then we'll go into, like, really our philosophy, right? Believe, behave, become. What are some of the beliefs, behaviors, and how did you know you became a CEO? And we'll go through that. So why don't you tell the folks who you are, what you do, and maybe what differentiates you too?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Danny DelVecchio, and I run a content agency and content consultancy. It's called Content on Easy Mode. And there are a number of different things that we help business owners to put on easy mode when it comes to their content, right? So video content being a big part of that. Now we're also doing written content and email, newsletters, and all kinds of pieces of content that people want to get out there. And then obviously also we do, thanks to you guys who pushed me down this road, we do testimonials on easy mode. And, we help people, get, start selling with using their client stories as a way to sell. And, selling with social proof kind of deal. So it's been fun. We, like I said, it's a combination of, some kind of done for you, work where we do video content, we do video editing. Then also we created an application now. So all of our clients have access to an application that, helps, systematize content creation for them. And then, again, we do the testimonials. So it's all kinds of fun stuff happening over here.
Yeah, you have totally packaged it up, and it's funny because it was a genesis of like the things that you needed for yourself to advance your level. So there's a lot of proof and evidence in, like, hey, I use this for myself. I've used this for some of my friends, and it actually works. And each time you found a new thing, you added that into the offering for your clients, which has been incredible. Writing the actual content and repurposing and distributing it in a further way has been such a game changer, I feel, in what you've done in your business for your clients, is allowing them to say, look, you've recorded this amazing piece of content, but we can take this way further. And that's really what I feel is, like, it's great to have content, but if you don't have ways of distributing it and using it and using it in a different manner than it was originally created, it becomes siloed into one place. And it may be perfect for this platform, but it can be repurposed in other ways. And I feel that's what you've showed people, how they can do that very, very simply. And, we love businesses simple. It's just not easy. You made it very simple because you've systematized it, right? It's still going to be hard work to go through and do these things, but you've taken the nonsense out, the noise out, the thing where people have to think, and you've allowed them to just take action and move forward and do the work to get the results that they want, which is, I really admire what you've done with that, man. And I believe so much in it.
Thank
Um,
you. I appreciate it. And it's definitely
yeah, you're
evolved for
also
sure.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You're also a really, really amazing and dedicated father, and that's the other thing that
Mhm.
we always have felt so amazing about is like, yes, you're a rock star in business, but you really are a rock star at home. You're the most famous person in the four walls when you're at home as well. But you love it. Like every time I talk to you, even your new Substack that you're doing, with the for your sons and everything, it's really
Yeah.
amazing to constantly have that harmony between work and life. And there's not many people I know that have done such a good job with that. So I commend you for it, pal.
Well, thank you. Well, I mean, it's hard because I'm not like a systems person. I'm not a systems and I'm not an operations person. And somehow like I've become the content systems guy, right? And I think that that's a big reason that I've been able to, kind of have that work life harmony, as Tom says, not work life balance. But that work life harmony is because I have like these systems in my business that I can get things done, and that gives me the opportunity to cut out early every Friday and spend the day with the kid, and spend some time with the kids, and and coach basketball and teach faith formation. I teach faith formation at church now. So there's a bunch of cool stuff that I get to do because was able to design this business and my life to have that harmony. So it's pretty cool.
Well, that's a
Yeah,
good
Danny, that's
segue.
so cool. Yeah.
Our whole method is believe, behave, become at Atomic Business Coaching. And in order to be the CEO, that's really what we look at. Everybody has to go through this shift of their beliefs, their behaviors, and then they will become everything they've ever wanted to. So, Tom, why don't we start there with them? Yeah.
Yeah. So, Danny, I was going to say, like, just hearing you say all the things that you're doing and involved with right now, when we first met you and started working together, it wasn't like that at all, right? What was one of the key beliefs that you had to change that was holding you back, that you led you down this road, that like forced you to change you in a different direction? What was that big belief?
Um, I mean, one, it was like I didn't believe that I could actually do this. I didn't believe that I was capable of, running a business, running a company, like not being an employee. I was always an employee. And even when I started the business and like it was more like, oh, I just want to make some money on the side. Like hopefully I could make some money on the side in addition to my income, and maybe like doing something that I enjoy, like a podcast, and maybe I can have that and make a couple bucks
Hmm.
on the side. That would be cool. And if it somehow blows up and turns into a full-time thing, obviously that would be great. But no, like in no intention of ever like becoming an entrepreneur and starting a business. And I think like, that's something that Adam like really pushed into me. I was like, you got some talent, man. And you could probably start a business. And then I think, the other thing is like, and this goes back to some of the things that Tom's helped me with, which is like, I didn't necessarily have the support and understanding from like my family members and stuff like that,
Hmm.
right? My dad doesn't know anything from entrepreneur. He's an employee. So like that whole thing terrified him, and his heart was obviously in the right place. You know what I mean? He was just worried about, hey, you got a mortgage, you got two kids, like, and you're talking about, you know, getting rid of a steady job or whatever, which now obviously, with everything, with all the freaking million people getting laid off every day, we know a steady job doesn't even exist anymore. Right. So that's a complete, so there's a kind of a belief system, that's rooted in like what your family thinks and behaves and the way they behave. So, I think that was something that you really helped me to kind of separate from. So,
So you didn't think you can become that thing, but now that, like, what was the point where you said, I can do this? Because your belief was, I can't do this. I'm not able to do this. Like, what was the point that you said, holy cow, I can do this. Like, when did that belief change and become grounded in what has made you who you are today?
Yeah, so I think it was when I started the podcast in 2021, maybe end of 2020, something like that. I started the podcast, like that was my idea. I was going to do this podcast and turn it into a side hustle or whatever. And I was working with a coach at the time who ran this podcast mastermind. You guys know him well, Travis Brown, right? So,
Right.
and he was just like, he knew I was frustrated with the podcast. He knew I was looking for a way to make money. He started to understand that I had some skills, just like Adam, same thing. He was like, you got some skills. Like, you have sales knowledge, you have business knowledge, you have content creation knowledge and social media. He's like, there's a lot that you can do with that. And I think he was the one that like really opened me up and made me take a look at what the creator economy has to offer. Like, I wasn't aware of the creator economy, right? And then now I start to look at people like Travis and I'm like, dude, this guy used to have a 9 to 5 and now he's making money as a creator and he has businesses as a creator. And I'm like, now I get it. So that played into it. And then when he was just like, hey, stop doing the podcast and start a coaching business and go out and get your first client or whatever. And that's what I did. I started a coaching business and I went out and I got the first client, my homie Victoria, who I grew up with in Limbrook. And, she was my first coaching client at $400 a month. And that was all I needed. That was it. Like, that was like, okay, I know that I can do this. I know that I can make money. Now I just need to learn like all the other things that come along with it and like how to amplify it.
Yeah, the interesting thing there is you get a little bit stuck because there's not a belief in a support system you have, right? And it's like you start to second guess yourself. I've been there as well, where you're like, I don't know if I should do this. The people around me are a little nervous. Maybe I should be nervous too. I know I'm a risk taker and everything else, but like when the writing's on the wall and people are saying, hey man, be very cautious, especially parents or mentors or people that you admire, when they're saying that, you start to second guess yourself. And it's interesting how then someone you didn't know very well could see something in you and then show you what the options are. And that's a lot of times where the holdback is people just don't understand what all of these options are out there for them to do things. They think there's like one single track and that's really it. And I'm not cut out for it, or I don't have the pedigree or the skill sets. And like, no, there's a wider range if you're willing to take that chance. And it's funny that in order for us sometimes to have a belief, someone else needs to have a belief in us, or at least say they believe in the potential of what we could do if we went after it, And man, thanks Travis for seeing that. And
Yeah.
then really what happens then is, once you have this belief, at least this is our philosophy, your beliefs drive your behaviors. That's what we have always said, is when you start to have these beliefs, and really what beliefs come down to is you believing in what your identity is. And when you shift from like, I'm an employee mindset to I'm an entrepreneur, even if I've never sold a damn thing, like, okay, this is my new identity. I'm going to embrace this. I believe I really am this and I'm going to go after it. That starts to, on a daily basis, you wake up and it drives behaviors to the left instead of to the right. And it's like, whoa, I'm going down this way. So what would you say after you had that belief? What were some of the behaviors that you found yourself doing that maybe weren't what you used to do?
Yeah. So obviously, I was hanging on to the 9 to 5 job, right? Like, and I think that was a big change. And ultimately, what actually even happened was I was interviewing for multiple jobs, and I think you remember this, Adam. You're like, why are you interviewing for these jobs? And like, there was one that I really wanted to, and I think I interviewed for about 7 jobs, all in like promotions, like within the company. And when I didn't get all 7 of them, I made it to like the final interview of like 6 out of 7 and didn't get any of them. And the last one was the one that I wanted the most. And like, when I didn't get that last one, I was like, this is it. Like, at the time I was saying it was a sign from the universe. Now I know it's a sign from God. That was like, this is it. Like, you're going to go all in, you're going to do this thing, you're going to figure it out. And, so that was like the first big behavior was like actually going ahead and quitting my job or whatever, right? So that was big. And there was and not there's a couple other behaviors that happened before that, obviously, like just the fact that I decided to, start working out and getting healthy. I started to go to church every week and start to like, do that. At first it was first it was just to support my wife or whatever. But then it turned into, something completely different. So those are kind of behaviors that were happening in the background, but there's also this other one that really sticks out. This is an Adam thing too. we were doing Busy Bee Social at the time. So this was like, we were doing video interviews. It was like the very beginning stages of like, what is video on easy mode? It used to be called Busy Bee Social, right? And I was doing the whole thing. I was doing the interview. I was doing the video editing. I was doing the sales, the marketing, everything, right? And I hated doing the video editing. And I was a mediocre video editor. Like I was at best a mediocre video editor, right? And Adam was just like, stop doing the video editing, like outsource it to somebody. And I'm just like, dude, I need the money. I'm like, I can't pay somebody to do it. I'm like, I need the money. I'm like, I'm broke. I'm going broke over here. And he's like, but think about how much time you would save and how much happier you would be if you weren't doing the video editing and you just outsource it to somebody, and like how much more time you could put towards sales, right? And finally I let go and I gave the video editing to somebody. And so you want to talk about when I started to become a CEO? There's your answer right there. Because the second that I did that, everything changed. Everything in the business changed. Because
and look, you actually, so let go is a theme there, right? You let go of the job. You let go of the rationale to trust your instinct of like, hey, I'm an entrepreneur, or even trust your instinct of I should go to church or I should start working out. You let go of a lot of that, which instead of talking about your intelligence and logical ways of doing things, you listen to the intuition, that internal voice, whether you think it's your subconscious or God or the universe or whatever it is. You started listening to those things and letting go of nonsense and moving into the directions of what you wanted to do. And that is like, that's one of the scariest things for everybody in the behavior part, is when they first have to move from just being a practitioner, because that's what most of us are. When we start our businesses, we do everything, right? And we've basically created a job for ourselves. And I've done it multiple times. I just created multiple jobs for myself under one umbrella company. And when you first have to delegate and say, hey, I'm going to hand this off, even if it's to a freelancer or a vendor, or even sometimes just software, it's very nerve-wracking because you're like, nobody else can do this better than me. And everything else that I normally do is so critical to this one point. How could I let it go? And that faith that we have to have, and like, okay, even if they totally screwed up, I can still catch them when they fall and fix things. And we learn that is a giant shift in becoming a CEO. In that manner, it's most of us, we become managers first. And that's the thing, is everybody wants to become the CEO, be the business owner, have the cocktails on the beach while the business runs on its own. We all want to do that, but it takes these phase changes. And the first one is usually management. And when we move from just being the guy that does everything, the employee of our own company, to like, now we manage, whether it's people or vendors or software or whatever, when we manage that, that is the step in the direction of like, I own a company now. I'm not just working for myself. Yeah. What were you going to say, Tom?
So I love the theme of letting go, right? And we see so many, especially newer business owners, and you were in that conversion of employee to business owner, and you were shifting all these different ways of experiencing revenue generation. And what happens is the controller in us, we have these sabotaging habits, and the controller tends to take over. Like, I got to be the one to do all this because I have all these needs, and if I don't do it, things are going to get screwed up and things aren't going to happen. And we focus so much on, we have to eventually let go. We forget, and you said it so beautifully, the way you talked about how you went to church more and you were eating better and you were doing better, and all the things you were able to let into your life, right? So it wasn't a letting go, it was a letting in of all of these good things. And the minute we let go, we can let so much more in so that we can become exactly who we're meant to become. And I think that was the moment for you, like you said, that was the moment I became the CEO, right? Because you let it in and you saw that, okay, I can hire somebody to do this, and now I can let all these other things happen that I can't let happen right now because I have to do everything. How did you manage some of those? Like, did it eat at you a little bit that you let go? Did it get in your way? Like, what was the thing that did it come back to surface in any way and try to sabotage you?
Um, no, not really. Not really. Like, I think everything that I let go of has been the right things to let go of.
Mm.
I let go of silly things like fantasy football, right? I let go, Tom. This is big help on your end of like trying to be the middleman and trying to be the mediator between my wife and my mother, who are in the middle of a giant conflict always. I let go of our past home and moved on and found a new home. And like, so like of all the things that I have let go of, there hasn't been one thing that I've regretted. Um,
Right.
I mean, like, do I miss sometimes like being back in New York with you guys and my friends and family and everything? Sure, absolutely. But like, do I understand that this was like the right move for me and my family? And was this like a necessary move that we needed to do like in this phase of our lives? Absolutely. So like, the only thing that I need to do more of now, and you guys have both been on me about this, is like I need to do more things for myself. I don't do much for myself.
We're all guilty
Um,
of that, though, man.
I like business is like the thing.
Hmm.
um, and somebody was like saying to me, it was like, oh, if you do this, then maybe you could stop working like 60, 70 hour weeks. And I'm like, I work 60, 70 hour week. I enjoy this. It's like
Right.
I'm not sacrificing anything that I like don't enjoy to do this. Like this is what this is my thing, that this is what lights me up right now. Making content, doing like I don't love doing prospecting. I'll tell you that much. That's probably the one
Right.
thing that I do right now that is not
Nobody
like
likes
my
it.
favorite thing to do, is like doing prospecting. Tom's laughing because he's like, yeah,
Nope,
same,
nobody likes
same.
it.
Um,
Me for one, we don't like it. We just want to, you know what it is? We just want to do our thing that we love to do the most. But you got to do that nasty stuff in the middle. You got to make
yeah,
that happen so you could do the thing that you need to do.
yeah, I
So
like building stuff. Like I've been playing around. I've been building funnels and landing pages and VSLs, and like I'm doing that. So like that stuff is fun for me.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't mind working more hours and stuff like that, because again, I'm still a beginner. I still have like a long way to go. I'm only 3 years in. I mean, we've got some really good momentum. Like revenue numbers are like probably way better than what most people who are at my stage of a business, like with the amount of employees, zero, that I have. Although I do give a significant portion of my money over to vendors to get things done, but I tried to go the employee route and wasn't really thrilled with it and went back to the vendors. So
But
um,
it's good that you try. That's what most businesses and in the behavior thing, it's most people think we have to get it right. And when we're behaving like a CEO, what it really is all about is accepting the massive amount of failures that we're going to have along the way to learn how to do things our way, because there's no textbook for like this is how to run a business. Right? There's some fundamentals and everything like that that we all need to know, but each business in one singular category is usually run differently. If I put 10 dentists next to each other, they all run their practice a little bit differently because it works for them, it works for their patients, it works for their lifestyle, it works for their monetary needs. And that's the thing, you can't figure that out until you really try something and it doesn't work out. But the best knowledge that we get from the failure is realizing like I don't like to do that, that does not work for us, or it doesn't work for our clients. And then we can remove it out. And it's like, okay, now I know that I'm not going to have to think about what if I did this. It's no, I did that, it didn't work. Tom and I spent 6 figures 1 year on advertising, and it's not that advertising doesn't work. It's not that advertising doesn't work for coaches. It didn't work for the way we wanted it to work, right? We wanted it to work a very particular way. And because advertising doesn't work for people like us and our clients and our prospects that we look for in the manner that we wanted, we had to end that. And we took a humongous financial loss on it. But we learned a lesson of like, that type of advertising does not work. What we learned is what does work. And if we ever decide to move down that path of the way that it does work, we know we can go back in and spend probably more money than we did, and will be effective. But our business, our morals, our lifestyle weren't in a position to say, oh, let's just put the money towards the other way it actually does work for people in our situation, because we didn't want that outcome. And that's the beautiful thing about failing, is you get to realize I don't like those outcomes. And then when you do have success, the same thing happens. You can have success and be like, but I don't like it. Tom and I have been through that multiple times where we had great success and things, and we realized, like, we don't love doing this. Like, we had a very nice, thriving 12K per month MRR business, and we closed it because we didn't like who we were in it. We ended up becoming teachers, not coaches, not advisors. And it was like, we're good at it, but we don't love it. And it's okay to fail, even when you have success in other people's eyes. To Tom and I, that was a giant failure in the course of where we were bringing our business and our lives. When other people are like, you guys are fucking crazy. Like, you're closing down this business that's growing, and you can grow this to 30, 40, 50 MRR, and you're going to close it. We're like, yeah. People literally looked at us like, why would you ever, how good of a business coach could be if you're going to close a successful business? Like, that's actually how good we are, that we can recognize this is not going to fit. It's not going to align with the type of business we want. And that's the thing, is you have truly taken advice from people and then use that to create your style of business, Danny. That's the differentiator. It's you have created a business that works for you, and your clients who pay you very good money are happy that you've built that. And that's why they chose you. So I would ask you, when you did actually become the CEO, what was that like? What has changed? What is different in this life, or is nothing? Like, what does that look like as people make this transition and they realize, holy shit, I did become the CEO and this is what it is now? What has that been for you?
Yeah, it's just like, you and I went through this thing where you were just like, are you a CEO or a solopreneur? Right. Um,
Mhm.
and ultimately I made the decision that, like, I was not a CEO. I was a solopreneur. Like, you remember that significantly, right? That was like a significant event. And then I ultimately, have completely kind of flip-flopped on that.
Yeah.
Because I realized that I'm not trying to be a solopreneur here. Like, I need, there's people that I need to depend on, and, and like, I have my vendors that I work with. Like, I significantly depend on them. They handle a very large portion of what we do. And then now, with the application, I couldn't build it alone. And, I brought in a partner to come in and help me build the application. So that part of the business, like, I made the executive decision. I was like, hey, I got to bring somebody in that can really help me do this and grow it, and also, be the, person that people lean on for the tech problems and all that. And
Right.
he's done a fantastic job, right? So I just, I think that there was, like, I was resistant to it a lot. Like, I was just like, oh, I could just be like a creator, and like more like, almost more like, run my business like a freelancer.
Mhm.
And I'm
Mhm.
not a freelancer. Like,
Right.
not at all. Like, I have, I do way more than what a typical, like, freelancer would be. So, I just realized, and now I'm looking at, well, how do I get people to help me, do sales for testimonials on Easy Mode? It's like,
Yeah. It
I got
sounds like
multiple.
a lot of what you've seen different once you became the CEO. It sounds like reliance and support.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not doing everything on my own. That's the big thing. That is the huge thing, is like not trying to handle every single thing on my own. And like, I've seen other people who handle every single thing on their own, and like, they have great businesses or whatever. it's not for me.
Right.
Yeah,
No,
that's exactly. It's
it's
you
important.
realize at a certain point it might not be for you. You know, I have unless you have one other thing, Tom, I have a different a final question I'm going to ask. So go ahead.
I well, I just have a question. Like you talked about business and how when you became the CEO, how your business changed. How did home life change? How did being a dad and a husband change?
Yeah. That's I think that like home life is way better than what it was like when I was an employee, like when I was still an employee mindset. I wouldn't say like, again, like I was still being resistant to the term CEO or whatever. And like, maybe I was just resistant to the term, but I was already one. You know what I mean? Like, so I just wasn't like admitting it to myself, or I was resisting it or whatever. But yeah, no, my life has significantly changed. Obviously you guys know I've lost like 100 pounds or whatever. I'm so much healthier than I was. My relationships are all better across the board. I don't think I have one relationship that isn't significantly better than before, like what my life was before. Right. Again, we've become to a little bit of a better environment now where, as far as like where we live. And if there's one area that I could use to improve in, it would just be like my social life and like having some friends here. Um my business is pretty much like all consuming for the most part. And between that and family, between business and the kids, it's been like all consuming. And sometimes like I wish I had some more like, you know opportunity to go out and hang out with some friends and stuff like that. And I don't really get that much, get that all that often. Although I am moving into an office, moving from my home office into a co-working office. So
Nice.
hopefully maybe I can meet a couple people doing
Yeah,
that. And I'd like
Nice.
to
that'll
do
be
some
great.
in-person stuff too. I've done so much stuff behind the camera and behind the Zoom. I think the next phase for me that'll just also help out that situation that's bothering me is to again start doing some in-person work. So I might have to tap you guys on the shoulder because I know that's your thing.
Yeah,
That's
and you know
awesome.
what? It might be an interesting thing. Like maybe you spend 5 days instead of 2 days in New York one time, and we use Steve's studio, and we bring some New York people, and you do your in person stuff there, so you
Mm,
can make it a work and business trip. We've been recording a live podcast there. It's he's done a great job, and obviously you know Steve DeAngelis very well.
yeah.
His company is Bella Vita Studios, but he's done amazing work. And that in person would be good in New York, but yeah, I do believe there's ways for you to do that within a 40-mile radius of your houses and your office as well. So all right, so I have two more questions. First one is, so is this it? You reached the pinnacle and you're here, or is there more?
Oh, hell no. I thought so. Like, no, there's no way. Like, there's so much more that I want to do that I haven't scratched the surface of like what I plan on doing yet.
And I asked that because people are going to watch this and be like, "Damn, I just want to get where Danny is." And it's funny. That's what 3 years ago Danny thought too. But now he's even like, "No, there's more." And the thing that I've found with every successful person I've worked with is it's not that they're unsatisfied when they get there. They have a realization of I am capable of so much more. The more successful we become, the smarter we become, the more competent we become, we realize how little we've done and how little we know. And it opens up that perspective to like, holy shit, like I've only scratched the surface. And that goalpost, it's not that you move it, it has been moved because you have this clarity in what you can see now as you become so much better. So I'm glad to hear that. So my last question is a challenge. I'm going to give you a scenario, and I want you to give advice to anybody who's watching, because not everybody can just be like, I'm starting a business, I'm doing these things. So the challenge is this. Imagine I give you $10,000 and that's all the money you have. You can't ask for any more money whatsoever, but you have $10,000 and you only have 2 hours a day, every single day, and 1 year. How would you build a successful and sustainable business that you could then grow further just by having those parameters? So $10,000, 2 hours only per day, and 1 full year. What would you do? What would you build? What do you think? You can give advice for people considering potentially starting their own business one day.
Okay. Right now, what I would do is I would sell digital products. So basically, what I would do is I would make content. I would create a digital product based upon the knowledge and experience that I have right now, and I would use AI to help create that product. Okay. And then I would probably create a couple upsells for it, and I would take the $10,000 and I would just start running ads to the digital product, and I would I would, it starts with something like $30 a day or $50 a day. And I'm just going to go and like make tweaks to the ads, If the product starts to sell, then it's time. Okay, let's build another one. Let's do an upsell. Let's build another one. Let's do an upsell. Let's do a build, and then increase the ad spend. But that's what I would do.
I love it. That's a good,
And
that's
that's if I only had 2 hours. Like if I had 2 hours,
yeah, that's why.
Like,
yeah,
that means like no coaching. I couldn't do coaching or anything like that because I don't have time to do coaching or anything. So I'm like, the only way that I'd be able to do that. That's the only way that's the only thing that I could do is sell.
That's why we ask it that way. It's because if you put those constraints, it's called bound creativity, right? And if you put these constraints on things and you can't go outside of that box, it's what is actually possible. And you're like, I can create some content. I could run ads, pay attention to the ads, tweak the ads, and I could build some digital products like that. That is a literal viable thing that someone can go out there and do to get started. And here's what most people don't understand is 2 hours a day, $10,000 is how most businesses start.
Mm-hmm.
They turn into sometimes billion-dollar corporations. Sometimes they turn into lifestyle-changing businesses. Sometimes they fall flat on the ground. But there is a way. There is a way for you actually to move from being a paycheck addict in order to go ahead and have a business and be self-employed and maybe one day be the CEO of your business. It is possible. So, Danny, I love you, brother. 345.
Yeah,
I love you guys. Thank you.
Where can everybody find you? We all know LinkedIn, but anything else you're doing you want them to check out, we'll put it in the show notes so they can take a look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, just look me up on LinkedIn, Danny DelVecchio. Also, same on Instagram, Danny DelVecchio, and then and YouTube. So those are my kind of 3 places that you can find content from me. And check out contentOnEasyMode.com.
There you go.
Awesome.
Thanks, brother.
Go.
See you.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Danny.